Parliament has announced that the 58 members of the MK party will be sworn in as MPs on Tuesday by the Chief Justice or designated judge of his choice as they form part of the first sitting of the National Assembly. Parliament also noted that the MK party has requested to have 21 members supplemented on their list who will be sworn in by Speaker Thoko Didiza. This all on the back of the MK party announced John Hlophe as their leader in Parliament. So what is the MK party's likely political strategy? To help me unpack this, I'm joined by political analyst Dr Zamo Mbandlwa to weigh in. Good morning, Doctor. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning, Mas Chaba. Good morning to your viewers. Well, this is a very interesting development.
Yeah.
I like the fact that MK party decided to join the parliament, because the MK party not being part of the parliament is defeating the 58 seats and the 12% that they've obtained in the elections, because people have voted for the MK party. And now if the MK party decide not to be part of the parliament, it defeats the wishes of the people that have voted for the MK party, regardless of the dispute of the outcome of the elections. But the MK party was supposed to be in parliament because people have voted for the MK party. Well, I see the stance that they've taken to say Judge John Hlophe will be the leader of the members of parliament representing the MK party. We've seen that happening as well, whereby the EFF in the past have accommodated the former public protector, because they believe that she was well vested with the laws and the legislations of this country. And I think the MK party have taken the same stance to say Judge John Hlophe is the one that have a better understanding of the laws and the regulations of this country. So therefore, he's a well-vested candidate to represent the MK party in dealing with issues of the laws that must be passed in parliament, and also the decisions that must be taken by the parliament, and how the MK party must approach the motions that have been presented in parliament, because he's a well-vested individual with the laws, regulations, based on his experience as a judge president.
And how do you think the MK's party's participation in parliament will then impact on the ongoing case of alleged election fraud?
I think the stance that they've taken now is that they will run the parallel processes, whereby they will be part of the parliament. On the other part, they will be fighting against the outcome of the elections. Well, it's a very difficult situation, because if you are fighting against the processes and the outcome of the elections, yet you are part of the outcome, then it becomes very difficult now to say, how do you then fight against the outcome of the elections, yet you are part of the processes now, and you are in parliament on the basis of the outcome of the same elections that you claim not have been free and fair, or there are some irregularities in the elections, but you are participating in the processes. I think they'll have to find a better way to fight against the outcome, and also motivate the reason why they decided to be part of parliament. As I've indicated earlier on, that for the party not to be in parliament, it defeats the wishes of the people that have voted for the party. And I suppose they will use the same argument to say, regardless of the party fighting against the outcome of the elections, but still they have a mandate to represent the people that have voted for the party to be in parliament, and serve the interest of those who voted for them.
And Doctor, do you think that the MK's party's decision to participate in parliament perhaps may be a strategic move on their part to maintain influence in some sort of way and power, perhaps?
Well, under the current circumstances, it is a strategic move. However, if you look at the GNU, the combination of the parties that are part of the GNU, I don't think at this point the MK party stand a chance to have a positive influence or a significant influence on how decisions must be taken in parliament, because I think the MK party will only be working with EFF at the moment if you look at the current setting in parliament. And the GNU and the small parties have joined the GNU. You have seen recently that UDM have decided to join GNU. Rise Mzansi is likely to join GNU. So it's very difficult now for the MK party to even influence the forces of the progressive movement, as they've already mentioned themselves or identified themselves as the forces of the progressive alliance opposing the GNU. So in other words, they will only be working with EFF, and they don't constitute a bigger margin of members of parliament if they are only just two, which is the MK party and the EFF, unless there is a crack in the GNU. And I think the MK party and the EFF will be able to have a much influence in how decisions are taken and how the government is formed if there is a crack in a GNU. But I doubt the GNU will allow that space, because if there's a disagreement between the GNU parties or parties in the GNU, that will open a space for EFF to influence whichever party that is not happy in the GNU, and also open a space for the MK party to influence that particular party to say, GNU is failing, why can't we form our own formation or coalition to fight against the GNU and fight against the leadership of the DA and the ANC in particular, who are the majority in the GNU.
And what specific legislations is the MK party likely to oppose in parliament, do you think?
Well, it's very difficult to say at this point, because they've mentioned a number of issues which I think they were not happy about. Well, in the first place, they said the constitution must be amended, because at its current form, the MK party and the EFF in particular, they believe that the constitution does not represent the interest of the native people of South Africa. So according to them, they feel that the constitution must be amended to favor the natives of the country rather than accommodating everybody. So that is their stance in terms of the legislation, in terms of the constitution and the amendment. So their plan now was to have a look at the constitution at first, and then look at other legislations as well. Well, you'll recall that in the past, EFF and the MK party were very vocal on the land issue and the economic transformation. So I think in the main, those are the two positions that they are holding together, and perhaps positions that are uniting the MK party and the EFF to say the land must be brought back to the people, original owners of the land. And secondly, they believe that the economic transformation must be a priority, because the economic reform at its current formation does not represent the interest of the native people of the country. So those are the two positions that I think unite the MK party and the EFF.
And Doctor, the MK party changing their party list, is that a problem?
Well, I wouldn't say it's a problem or not a problem, because based on the analysis of the people that are representing a party, I think all political parties have a right to make a proper assessment on who must represent the party at any level, whether national or provincial legislature or in the national parliament, because the strength and the knowledge that people possess is not the same. So maybe based on the assessment of the people that were previously submitted as members of MKP in parliament do not represent the interest that the party want to transform, or the interest that they want to ensure that it is well represented in parliament by the members. So I think amongst the 21 members that have been supplemented, I think they had a proper look into the strength, weaknesses, the capabilities of those members, and said no, they want to replace the 21 members with a new 21 members to represent the MK party in parliament. Perhaps the interim structures of the MK party is the one that that suggested that the 21 members must be replaced with the new 21 members.
A lot has happened this month. Let's talk about this now. Now, Zizi Kodwa, having been recently arrested, then released on bail, and then resigning from his ministerial position amid corruption charges involving alleged bribes, and now being sworn in on Tuesday. I mean, is this not a flouting of the step-aside rule, or does it not apply in this case? I mean, if we had to look at other examples of members who are tainted but are being sworn in, there's Supra, there is Dinah Pule, as well as Kuselo Diko, who in all fairness has been cleared by the ANC. But what are your thoughts around this?
Well, I've seen the statement that has been made that Zizi Kodwa will be sworn in as well in Parliament as a member of Parliament on Tuesday. It is within his right to be sworn in as a member of Parliament. Remember, he has not been found guilty, so he's just attending a court case. And this does not necessarily mean he's guilty. And he can also serve as a member of Parliament representing the ANC. And being a member of Parliament does not necessarily mean a person is holding a portfolio. It's just a member of Parliament. Well, the issue of the step-aside rule talks about people who are holding position of authority. And I think for him to resign as a minister was in line with the constitution and the policy document of the ANC, which suggests that those who have been found to be tainted or those whose name have been subjected to legal processes must step aside in their initial positions. And in this case, I suppose he did very well by resigning as a minister, but it does not affect him as a member of Parliament, because should he be found not guilty, he can still stand a chance to be appointed as a minister of any portfolio, because he will not be found guilty by the court of law.
All right. And Doctor, lastly, the much anticipated cabinet announcement that will happen either today or tomorrow, what do you think the composition will be like? Do you think we'll see more members coming from other political parties?
Well, this is a very tricky situation because we have a ministry of 30 portfolios, 30 positions, and we have about 36 deputy ministers. By the look of things, I think all the parties that are part of the GNU will be represented in one way or the other. But the matter that will be affecting the relationship between the GNU parties is the portfolios that will be allocated. I know some parties have preferred certain portfolios. Well, it is within the prerogative of the president to decide. But in this particular case, it's very difficult for the president to use his power to appoint, because should he appoint people in positions that they do not prefer, this will affect the relationship between the GNU parties. And I suppose because there is a lot of discussions, background discussions taking place, they are engaging at this point as we speak to say who is going to be deployed where. And I think all parties will be properly represented, even if they are not happy, but I don't think they will be in a position to say they are no longer willing to be part of the GNU, because in a normal circumstances, all these parties now that will be holding senior positions or portfolios in government, in cabinet in particular, were not going to be in cabinet should the ANC have won the elections with the absolute majority. So in other words, you will have people who are ministers for the first time in their lives who were not even thinking of becoming ministers in a normal circumstances. So by virtue of them being ministers, I think they will be happy in their positions. However, there are those parties who are demanding certain positions in the cabinet. And I don't know how the president or the GNU will be able to address those people who feel entitled to specific positions in the cabinet.
All right. Thank you so much for your time. That was political analyst Dr. Zamo Mbandlwa ahead of Tuesday when Parliament swears in 58 members of the Umkhonto we Sizwe Party.